If you asked me my favorite video game of all time, I would look you dead in the eyes and genuinely say Plants vs. Zombies. And here's why. Plants vs. Zombies is a universal household name. After its release back in 2009, it exploded in popularity and has only grown in popularity since, producing numerous sequels and spin-offs throughout its life cycle. My dad knows what Plants vs. Zombies is. Hell, even China has Plants vs. Zombies. This game is universally loved and praised by millions of people. But how many of those people would call it a quote-unquote perfect game? For many, this game was nothing more than exactly what it appears to be, a silly mobile tower defense game to pass the time with. And sure, this is absolutely correct, but also so wrong. Plants vs. Zombies is much more than just a silly mobile game, and deserves the respect and honor to be put on the same pedestal as all other legendary games of the past. And for starters, it's not even just mobile. The shit's on PC too, and plenty of other platforms, which is pretty perfect, might I add, but we'll cover that later. Its simplistic nature on the outside is what makes it so great, and entices you in so easily, bringing you in bit by bit until you're on an endless wave 100 with 3 cob cannons and your eyes have gone bloodshot and your fingers numb. It's this simplicity comboed with its complexity that makes it so great. It might appear as though it's just a silly mobile tower defense, but in actuality, it's a game that rivals all other titles in the industry and doesn't allow a single one to come anywhere close. Before I begin here, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, I, like literally anyone on this platform, want you to like and subscribe, so if you haven't, that'd be pretty cool. Thanks, big man. Anyway, if you've already watched one of these videos before, then skip right through this chapter. Or if you don't give a shit, be my guest. In this series, I review games that are considered to be perfect, in order to find quote-unquote video game perfection. I do this by reviewing the games on a scale of 1 to 10 in 5 different categories. These are gameplay, art style, music, replayability, and story. Currently, I have done videos on both Cuphead and Hollow Knight before this, so if any of that interests you, I suggest you watch those videos after this one. But for now, back to this video. The gameplay of Plants vs. Zombies is phenomenal. The game truly makes you feel like you're planting plants, with the way you click and drag, sometimes water, give fertilizer, shovel dirt. But really, from the get-go, this game presents itself as such a simple tower defense title, bringing us back to that theme of simplistic outside and a complex inside. It starts you off as bare bones as can be, with 1 row of grass and 1 plant, and then a sun falls from the sky, and the primal feeling we all get to grab it as soon as possible takes hold. I don't know what it is, but anytime you see a sun on the screen, whether you already have 2,000 stocked up, or whether you have 15 sunflowers on the field, no matter what, if you see a sun fall from the sky, you have to drop everything you're doing as soon as possible to grab it. Somehow this game makes the resource collection seem fun. And that's not all. The game also purposely gives you 375 sun on the first level. This amount is important because it'll get you 3 pea shooters, when the level only requires at most 1 to complete. But something about having the sun, having the open space on the field, you'll place more because you know it will be the most efficient to kill the zombies the fastest. This instinct is already placed in your brain from level 1, along with the fact that they literally cuck you on that 75 sun, and we all finished that level, hoping for just 1 more to drop, but to no avail. In just 1 level, the game already indoctrinates you into its gameplay cycle flawlessly, and in a fun way. You leave the first level of the game ready to play more, ready to see what else the game has to offer, and see just how far the rabbit hole goes. The gameplay of building this perfect composition on the field, making it all nice and symmetrical, and watching it mow down a row of zombies is so satisfying. When you finally place down the last pea shooter you were missing in a row and see it all line up perfectly, you truly feel at peace. Until another sun falls from the sky and just, you know. The game builds and builds on itself over its game time, giving you a new plant to try out every single level, allowing you to see how it works, see if you like it, and adjust your team accordingly. They add new enemy types in that force you to change up the comfortable way you play, and force you to think and change to a different setup entirely. And even with all this new content coming your way, Maybe you're feeling a bit bored of the whole grab sun plant flower thing. Well, the game recognizes that and throws in specialized levels with completely different playstyles sprinkled in between, keeping you on your toes throughout it all. And not to mention that every 10 levels, the entire map changes, bringing in an entirely new way to play the game. Relying too heavily on sun from the sky? Well, in the nighttime, you are forced to adapt to the new environment, or die trying. These areas allowed for insane builds and strategies that would never be viable anywhere else, which keeps the gameplay fresh and new consistently. But always double stack your sunflowers. I mean, that's just a given. If you don't double stack your sunflowers, please seek help immediately. And how could I forget the ending, about Dr. Zomboss himself? This boss battle is extremely fun to play through, and even though it's not the hardest thing in the world, it still manages to scare you at times, especially when he drops a whole ass RV onto my 2x6 watermelons, and then proceeds to drop a gargantuan on those same exact tiles. Then yeah, it becomes a bit hectic, but it's so much fun. This game also features a pretty short runtime in its main story, allowing the player to easily be swept away by the gameplay and end up finishing it completely without even realizing. I've played this game on my DS, my Xbox 360, my PC, and my phone, and I still find myself playing it to this day and not feeling bored. Also, like I briefly mentioned earlier, mobile games that are on both PC and mobile are the way to go. They are the peak of mobile gaming. They allow you to be on your main setup at home, gaming away with maximum quality, but also allow you to stay hooked on the game when you're away from home as well. I don't know why every mobile game hasn't adopted this strategy. I mean, the ones that do see a massive success with it, but what do I know, you know? But back to our main topic, everything in this game is so well thought over, from the way its story progresses and hooks in the player, down to the fact that if you type in mustache, it gives all the zombies facial hair. And the story isn't even the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the amount of gameplay packed into this $5 experience. Where Plants vs. Zombies truly begins to reach its greatness level is in its after-game content. The game features hours of gameplay and so many different experiences, it's honestly mind-boggling. The developers have so many fun and random games to play with and mess around in that sure drive away from the core gameplay, but who cares? They're fun to play. They help break you away from the main gameplay, help switch it up, but in the end, you're still playing the same game. It reminds me of the old, like, Atari things that you could buy that just came in stock with, like, 30 different minigames to play on it. It is crazy to think that someone could literally buy Plants vs. Zombies just to play the minigame where you grow plants in a garden, or just to play PvE Bejeweled, or just to feed zombies floating in a fish tank. The amount of gameplay packed into these minigames feels almost endless. Wait a minute. That's right. The creme de la crop of the Plants vs. Zombies experience, Endless Mode. Endless Mode truly is another area where Plants vs. Zombies shines. Bro, what am I saying? At this rate, the game itself might as well just be a goddamn flashbang. The Endless Mode allows the player to have endless hours of fun. You can experiment with as many different wacky team comps you please, have access to literally every plant type because of the mid-round swapping mechanic. You can build comps never before seen. This mode truly allows for endless limitations when it comes to the main gameplay loop of Plants vs. Zombies, and is where most Plants vs. Zombies veterans will find themselves after completing the game. And like that, I've covered the gameplay of Plants vs. Zombies. Now, from my 1,000 word rant I just performed, I'm sure you could have gauged a feel from my opinions on the gameplay. I truly do believe wholeheartedly that the gameplay of Plants vs. Zombies is a solid 9.2 out of 10. The way the game is presented is so calculated and well done. The way it integrates the player into it almost immediately and pulls the player in wanting more is astounding. The extra game modes, secrets, shop, and garden are all excellent additions to the already amazing gameplay that just help amplify the experience even more, giving it more thought and game time than most AAA $60 titles today. And for that, I think it deserves this rating more than any other game on the market. That I've played, at least. With all these video game perfection videos, the gameplay is always the longest bit of information, which makes sense because I have to cover almost the entire game. But with Artstyle and Plants vs. Zombies, there really isn't a whole lot to say. Don't get me wrong, I really like the art style of Plants vs. Zombies. I love the designs of a good amount of the plants. I love how wacky the shit is, not caring about realism. I love how the zombies look and the absolute absurd variants, but I don't think it's anything to write home about. On a graphical level, it's not great, of course, but it was made in 2009 by a small studio working off of basically no money. Of course it's not gonna have RTX and send your computer to Mars. So yes, I think that PvZ2 looks better, because the studio had way more money, staff, and resources and was able to produce better visuals for the game. But I still don't think that the first game looks bad at all. It's just nothing to write home about. Other games I've looked at, like Cuphead and Hollow Knight, were games that relied heavily on their art styles to stand out, and are praised because of them. But you will never see a man argue that PvZ holds a candle to titles like those. Unless, I guess, you're on Twitter, because somehow every conceivable being with an opinion lives on that platform and insists on being vocal about it. But in reality, they aren't even close. And for that, I don't think I can give Plants vs. Zombies a score any higher than a 6 out of 10 for its art style. Iconic is the only way I feel appropriate to describe the soundtrack of this game. The game's soundtrack was composed in its entirety by Miss Laura Shigihara. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. I'm sorry if I did. But yes, the entire beautiful, iconic soundtrack in full was produced by this one woman that many of you probably didn't even know until now, unless you've looked up Plants vs. Zombies songs in the past, which you probably have, because they are bangers. Everything from the main title song to the intense boss theme to the sunflower singing was all done by her. The soundtrack is once again, as I said, iconic. The songs are all bangers. Not a single one flops on the entire soundtrack, which is something you literally never see. People on my last Plants vs. Zombies video would comment asking why I didn't include this song and that song in my list of favorites. And honestly, when I looked up the suggestions and listened to them again, I went, oh my god, this is amazing. But the problem was, so were the other ones in the video. So are all of them. And wait, this isn't a problem at all. This is a goddamn miracle. Every single song in this game is amazing, and I'm shocked that it isn't talked about more. You see everyone and their mother talking about Toby Fox's amazing soundtracks in Undertale and Deltarune, but I would argue the songs in Plants vs. Zombies are equally as good, if not better, than those seen in those games. Not to shit on Toby Fox, his work is amazing, but the recognition given to these composers just isn't the same. But that's also not to say her music goes unappreciated. Her songs are still heavily listened to this day, and even Mark Rober uses the Plants vs. Zombies soundtrack in his videos. The music wouldn't have survived for so long if it wasn't as good as it was, and still is. The soundtrack is truly, and I can't seem to say this enough, iconic. And as much as I'd love to sit here and listen to every song with you guys and appreciate every single one in order to increase the video length, I won't. But what I will do is give the music a solid, glorious 9.7 out of 10. Must I go over this again? Extra game modes, Zen Garden, hidden secrets, endless mode, repeatable story but with difficulty increase. You get the gist. The game is packed with content for hours of replayability. The only gripe I really have with it is that the versus mode that was present on the console versions isn't on the mobile and PC versions, and isn't online multiplayer compatible. If both those things were true, this game would truly have infinite replay value. But because it doesn't, I think the best I can do for it is give it a solid 9 out of 10. Yeah, You know, Plants vs. Zombies is very similar to my review on Cuphead's story in a way. Both stories are explained to the player, they explain a simple reason for doing what they're doing, and they both expand on it loosely throughout the gameplay experience, but are never really the main focus, but more of just used as a way to progress the player through the gameplay. Both do their jobs well as stories, but neither really do anything more or push any sort of boundary. And so for that, I give Plants vs. Zombies story the exact same score I gave Cuphead's, which was... What? Oh shit, I have to go look back at the video. Spoiler warning for the 0 of you that care. The answer was 7 out of 10. Alright, let's move on. And after all that, we have finally come to the end. The final score for Plants vs. Zombies. How will it rank against the others? Well, find out after you decide to like and subscribe. Yep, like and subscribe right now. You've either watched this entire video or you skipped to this part to see the score. But no matter what, whether you should like or subscribe, you should like and subscribe. That'd be super cool. Thanks, big man. The final score for Plants vs. Zombies as a competitor for video game perfection is 8.2 out of 10. What? Okay, maybe the scale's broken or something. Like, guys, there's gotta be like something up. There's no way that even with my obvious bias towards my childhood favorite game, I still was only able to give it an 8.2 out of 10. Some things about this game were amazing, and still are, but clearly the game lacks all elements required of a truly perfect game. I still hold the game in a high regard to all others, and still probably would consider it my favorite game of all time. But put on a scale weighted like this one, it fails to reach the praise I give it. In my mind, the game is near perfect, but maybe that is just a delusion. Maybe some of you guys are watching this thinking, this guy thinks Plants vs. Zombies is the best game of all time? Get this guy a real game. And honestly, you could be right. In the grand scheme of things, I've actually played a very little number of games that people consider to be perfect, which is why I'm doing this series. So maybe Plants vs. Zombies didn't score as high as I might have hoped. But that also gives me hope for the future, that maybe one day I'll find a game that truly does take the cake as video game perfection. What, you thought I was just gonna end it there? I mean, well, you made it this far, I might as well give you a special treat. And it really wouldn't make sense to end it any other way.
One, two, three. There's a zombie on your lawn. There's a zombie on your lawn. There's a zombie on your lawn. We don't want zombies on the lawn. I know your type, tall, dark, and dead. You don't really pipe the petals off of my head and then eat the brains of the one who planted me here. No, I'm just a sunflower, but see me power an entire infantry. You like the taste of brains, we don't like zombies. We might be racist.
I used to play football.
Yes, sir. Yeah, hey.
Broncos protect my head.
Fuck that guy.
I have a screen door shield.
Yo, fuck that guy too. We are undead. There's a zombie on your lawn. There's a zombie on your lawn. There's a zombie on your lawn. We don't want zombies on the lawn. Maybe it's time to reevaluate when all you have. You're dead, so it doesn't matter. Instead, use a solar power to make a lawn defense at any hour.
I like your tricycle.
You know these water bottles go
better on my road. I'm gonna eat your brains.
There's a zombie on your lawn. We don't want zombies on the lawn. There's a zombie on your lawn. We don't want zombies on the lawn.